Hello and welcome to Rage Crit. My name is Jay and today I want to talk about how popular is wargaming. And this is a question that I can't properly answer, so do forgive me if you're looking for facts and figures. That's not going to be available for a variety of reasons. If I could find it, and if anybody has a good source, do link me. I'm very interested in that. But yeah, I just want to talk about that. But before we do, if at the end of the video you like the video, then do consider pressing like. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please also consider doing that. So, what are we talking about? How popular is wargaming, and why does it matter? So, how popular is wargaming in comparison to what would be a question that is definitely worth asking. You know, if we say football, then, you know, I'm pretty sure we all know the answer to that. It's incredibly not very popular in comparison to football, US or soccer, whatever you want to call it. Let's have a look specifically, I think, in the tabletop realm of games. So what are we talking when we talk about tabletop games? We're talking D&D, like RPGs, we're talking trading card games, like Magic the Gathering, we're talking board games, and then you've got war games. And I could try and show you and try and maybe evidence, you know, this is not necessarily a great image here. I'm on Google Trends. I'm not claiming this to be the be and all. I've not even searched board games, for example. Board games. You know, like, see, the problem with that is you wouldn't search board games, would you? You just search for a specific board game. Like, I don't know, Gloom. I don't know how you spell this. Gloomhaven, maybe. I bet. Yeah, see, just that one board game's reasonably popular. So I'm not here to try and say that we have any facts and figures. My basic premise here is that wargaming is generally the smaller of those four. It's quite commonly said by a few people. I know Tabletop Minions, he holds that opinion, and he's more in the industry than I am, at least. So, like, I can't pull up a spreadsheet and give you, you know, stats and figures, because I don't, as far as I know, that doesn't exist. Like, Games Workshop's not going to be like, they might have the size of the company, but we'd have to add up all the companies involved and all that kind of stuff. But you know, how popular are things in everyday life? Like, people who are playing 40k might not buy 40k products because they already have the army. It's more complicated than it seems, is what I'm trying to say, right? So what am I talking about, and why does this matter? If we accept the premise that wargaming is the smaller of the four, how important or relevant is that to wargaming? This topic, it seems more complicated than I think about it. But what I mean there is, when you look at the other games, like Magic the Gathering, no, not Magic the Gathering, I mean D&D. D&D, as long as you have your group of people, or it doesn't have to be D&D, it can be any RPG, as long as you have your group of people, maybe 3 to 7, 8, I don't know how many people you really would max out in a D&D game. As long as you have your core group of people, you don't need anybody else. You can literally just crack on. You don't need to find events. You can just play with your friends. And the fact that it's so popular means that essentially, you know, cafes, board game cafes, all that kind of stuff are doing D&D nights if you want to, like, try and find pickup games, and there's communities, all that kind of stuff. Like, if you want to get into D&D, yeah, you've got to be a little bit social one way or another, because you have to find the group, and that's either a group of your friends, and a lot of people's friends are playing them these days. You might be able to find a game quite easily. Or, you know, you can find a proper hosted event at stores and that kind of stuff. So RPGs covered, right? Board games, it's the exact same kind of thing, essentially. As long as you have a core group of people who are willing to try out and play different board games. If you're interested in board games, you're going to be pretty happy with that. Like, if you've got 4 or 5 of you who are all interested in board games, lo and behold, you can play the board games to your heart content. There isn't an issue. Now, I do think that this is actually a little bit different for trading cards and wargaming. Because, right, yeah, so it's true that essentially if you have 5 people and you all want to play a game, then you can do that. Like, if you all want to play Pokemon trading card game, or you all want to play Malifaux, the 5 of you, for sure, you could just play that, for sure. But because the hobby isn't, these specific hobbies generally aren't as big as the other two, well, trading cards might be, wargaming specifically isn't as big as the others, I don't have 6 people. Like, my friends currently wouldn't play wargaming. They're all playing RPGs. So I don't have 6 people to be like, hey guys, let's all go and buy Vanguard and we'll have a great time. I don't have that luxury. If you do have that luxury, then abuse that luxury. You're in a great position. Have a great time doing it. But if you're like me, I sort of need events. I need these games to get played at stores, events and tournaments and all this kind of stuff. I need a community, not just online. I need a community in person because I don't have I don't have my self-made community. And the popularity of wargaming as a whole is an important factor in that. Specifically, it's important if you in each game. For example, we all know 40k is the biggest war game. If you want to play and find 40k tournaments, you can pretty much find that, right? But if I say, I think there's a game called Eden. I don't really know too much about it. I'm not insulting the game, but there's not like weekly events at the store down the road. Do you know what I mean? Like, you actually have to plan out your tournaments, maybe even try and grow that community yourself. And maybe you don't have time for that. So there's some games where the popularity of the game is quite a strong deciding factor on whether or not you should play that game. If you have your own crew, play whatever game your crew and you guys decide, right? But if you don't, the popularity is super important. And this is where like wargaming's slight lack of popularity with the other tabletop hobbies can be a bit of an issue, because it seems like the market can only sustain a few large games at a time. So like, you know, Kill Team, Legion, these games are all up there now, for sure. But once like Warcry comes out, does this diminish Kill Team a little bit? Is there enough market to sure everybody to play these games all at the same time? Probably. It's when I say wargaming is smaller than these other four, I'm not saying wargaming as a whole is small. There are many companies surviving off the sales from wargaming. Many YouTube channels doing the same, who are like thriving on YouTube because of it. So wargaming being small isn't that this is like one person in a shed playing. There is a whole community of different games out there. But even me, I live near a town called Warrington. Our Warrington store just closed, so if I want to play a game, I essentially have to go to Manchester or Liverpool, right? And the Liverpool one, it seems like it's X-Wing and 40k. And at Manchester, it's a little bit more varied, but definitely if I wanted to play X-Wing, it's available. 40k, it's available. Age of Sigmar occasionally. Legion occasionally. You know, I can play those games, but I pick a smaller game that, that I don't really know too much about. I could probably find, I'm going to say actually Steamforged is actually quite close to me, so if I said Guild Ball, I'll definitely be able to find a game. But you know what I mean? There's small games where it's like, I don't know if I'll be able to find a community to play that with. Batman is a game that I was talking to Jay from Top Table Gaming. I say we're talking. He posted it on his Facebook, and I was like, that's a game that if I ever had time, money, and effort, I would definitely play. But the reality is, unless we as a group decided we were going all in on that game, I wouldn't be able to find a game. Like, I need a community to exist or to help build, to play. And it can be a serious consideration when it comes to gaming. Now, and as I said, this is sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, like a catch-22 situation. We need a bigger audience to get a bigger audience because people will play those games. Now, I do think that there is a bit of a swampage in the market, especially. There's a lot of games coming out all doing a lot of the same kind of thing. And they come out and they don't, the 6 months worth of a game and then it sort of dies off and all that kind of stuff. And that is a bit of a shame because what to me the beauty of wargaming over say something like board game is that it's the same game that sort of changes gradually over time with different units and different strategies that come available. Like, if you want the same game over and over that doesn't change, you could literally just get a group of you that all played the same board game. Like, you'd be bored, but you know, you could do it. Whereas wargaming, it's a bit more like dynamic than that. The gameplay is meant to be a little bit more varied than that. And yeah, it's tricky because if you have a group of you and you all want to play Frostgrave, you can happily do that. But if I want to play Frostgrave, who do I play with? The community on Facebook's not that big. It's hard to find a player to play that with me. And Frostgrave is a great game by all means from what I can make out. So it's very upsetting at the moment. And It's a little bit weird. Do I think there's a proliferation of games that are hindering this? Yes. Do I blame the game companies for releasing more games? No. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, but it's one of those things where like the market is not necessarily large enough, I think, to sustain everything. But people buy them, but don't necessarily build a community around them. So we end up with this awkward situation where really the flagship games like Games Workshop games, because they have their own stores, they have their own communities, are always essentially going to have players. And then everything else, essentially, barring a few games like X-Wing Legion, all that kind of stuff, you've got to question who you're playing with. And it's a big consideration. To be fair, as I said, RPGs suffer that. If I wanted to get an RPG, I'd have to go to a store and make sure they were playing it. If I wanted to play a trading card game, that sort of has the same problem. You know which ones are the popular ones, which have events like Magic the Gathering, all that kind of stuff. Board games, again, you need a crew. But there's board game cafes, board game evenings, and all that kind of stuff. It feels like you'd probably be able to have an easier time of finding somebody to play your board game of choice. So yeah, I don't really know what the purpose of this video is. It's just to ask the question, what are your thoughts on it? Do you have your own little community where you just play whatever war game you like? Or are you? Does the popularity of the game, is that a really big consideration? I know it is for me, and I sort of wish it didn't have to be. Like, it's one of those things, like if I wanted to play a sport, tennis, football, rugby, I wouldn't really have a problem. I could do it. Do you know what I mean? Within 20 minutes, I could probably find a game and find people to play with. But if I want to play, I keep going back to Eden. I have no Menace to Eden, Wild West Exodus, all those games, all the kind of games where they're not like the massive, chunky, we are Warhammer 40k games, then I'd have to, take a step back and think about whether or not it's actually going to be possible. So, yeah, just let me know your thoughts. It's a random ass video, but I'm here. I've made it. We'll see what it is. It was a longer video than I expected. I've rambled about the same subject for quite a while, and I do apologise. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. I would really love for wargaming as a whole to get much, much, much bigger, and for these considerations to be less of an issue, and for it to just be, it's either picked off and it's not. Like, it's either become a main game that everybody plays, or meh, it wasn't that good and we don't play it anymore. And I appreciate that wargaming, it's a bit subjective of me to say that it's not as popular as the others. Three kinds of tabletop games. The reality is these aren't like computer games or TV figures. We don't have exact figures, so it's a supposition, which may or may not be true. I just think it probably is. But let me know if you disagree with that. Other than that, have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.